My father died on a Tuesday in March. I got the call from the hospital at 6:47 a.m. He'd had a massive heart attack at his home in Arizona, died before the ambulance arrived. He was 83, lived alone since my mother passed 12 years ago, and we'd talked maybe once a month. The funeral was scheduled for Saturday. I hung up the phone and sat at the kitchen table, processing the news. My wife, Karen, walked in, poured herself coffee, and sat across from me, without asking what was wrong. That was our marriage after 20 years. Two people sharing a house, barely acknowledging each other's existence. My name is David Mitchell. I'm 62 years old, a retired electrical engineer. I married Karen when I was 42, she was 38. The first 5 years were good. We laughed together, cooked together, traveled. We talked about having children, though it never happened. Then something shifted. Looking back, I can't pinpoint exactly when. Maybe it was gradual. Maybe there was a specific moment I missed. But by year 7, she'd moved into the guest bedroom, claiming I snored. By year 10, we stopped having dinner together. She ate at 6, I ate at 8. By year 15, entire weeks would pass, where we exchanged maybe 50 words total. "Did you pay the electric bill?" "Yes." "There's mail for you on the counter." "Thanks." That was conversation. We stopped having conversations that mattered. We slept in separate bedrooms. We lived like roommates who tolerated each other out of convenience. I'd watch TV in the living room, she'd be in her room with the door closed. I'd go for evening walks alone, she'd visit friends I'd never met. On holidays, we'd go through the motions, exchange perfunctory gifts, sit together at family gatherings without actually talking, maintain the facade of a functional marriage for appearances. Sex had stopped years ago. Affection had evaporated even earlier. The last time Karen kissed me, actually kissed me, not just a peck on the cheek at someone else's wedding, was probably 2011. I remembered because it had been so unusual that I'd actually taken note of it. I'd thought about divorce countless times, sat with divorce papers printed out, ready to sign. But divorce meant splitting assets, fighting over the house we'd paid off together, paying alimony. Karen didn't work, hadn't worked in 15 years. She'd quit her job as an office manager to focus on the house, but that had morphed into just existing. She wasn't a homemaker in any traditional sense. We ate takeout most nights. The house was clean because I cleaned it. She spent her days on her phone, meeting friends for lunch, shopping, doing yoga classes. It seemed easier to just exist in parallel. She had her life, I had mine. We crossed paths at meals, barely spoke, and that was our routine. "My father died," I said. Karen looked up from her phone. "Oh, I'm sorry." The words were automatic, emotionless. She went back to scrolling. That was it. 20 years of marriage, and my father's death got 3 words and 5 seconds of attention. I flew to Arizona alone for the funeral. Karen said she had commitments she couldn't cancel. I didn't push. Honestly, I preferred going alone. The funeral was small. My father had outlived most of his friends. A few neighbors attended, some people from his church. After the service, his attorney, Robert Harrison, asked me to stop by his office Monday. "Your father's will needs to be read," he said. "It's straightforward, but there are some details we should discuss." I met with Harrison on Monday. His office was clean, professional, papers organized in neat stacks. "David, your father left everything to you. His house, his savings, his investment accounts. Total value is approximately $3.2 million. I sat back in the chair. $3 million? Your father was very careful with money. He invested well, lived modestly. The house alone is worth $800,000. The rest is in various accounts and assets. $3 million. My father, who'd driven the same truck for 15 years, who clipped coupons and bought store-brand groceries, had been a millionaire. There's one condition," Harrison continued. "He stipulated that the inheritance is yours alone, not marital property. He was very specific about that. If you're still married when you receive it, it remains separate property as long as you don't commingle funds. He wanted to protect it from Karen. He never said that directly, but yes, I believe that was his intent. He updated his will 8 years ago with that provision. 8 years ago, when Karen and I were already living in our cold, separate existence. My father saw it, understood it, and protected me. I flew home Tuesday evening. Karen picked me up from the airport, unusual since we normally took separate cars everywhere. "How was the funeral?" she asked as we drove. "Fine. Small. Did you meet with his attorney?" "Yes. And?" I hesitated. Something in her voice was different, more interested, more engaged than she'd been in years. "Just paperwork, estate stuff." "Your father had an estate?" Her tone was casual, but I caught the edge of curiosity. "Some savings, the house, nothing major." That was a lie. $3 million was very major, but something stopped me from telling her the truth. Over the next week, Karen changed, subtly at first, then increasingly obvious. She started cooking dinner again, something she hadn't done in 5 years. Tuesday night, chicken parmesan, my favorite. Wednesday, homemade lasagna. Thursday, she asked what I wanted, actually asked my preference. She asked about my day, real questions, not perfunctory ones. "How was your morning? Did you finish that book you were reading? Are you still thinking about taking that woodworking class?" She smiled more. Real smiles, not the tight-lipped smiles she gave at parties. She touched my arm when she walked past. Light touches, brief but physical contact we hadn't had in years. She suggested we watch a movie together, then actually sat next to me on the couch instead of taking the armchair. On Friday night, she came to my bedroom door. We hadn't shared a bedroom in 12 years. "David, can I come in?" "Sure." She sat on the edge of my bed, wearing pajamas I'd never seen before. New, not the ratty old t-shirt she usually wore. Her hair was down, styled. She smelled like perfume. "I've been thinking about us, about how we've been living. It's not really living, is it? It's just existing." "No, it's not. I want to try again, really try. Go to counseling, reconnect, remember why we got married in the first place." She looked at me with what seemed like genuine emotion. "Your father's death made me realize we're not getting any older. I don't want to wake up at 70 and realize I spent my 60s being cold to the man I married." I looked at her carefully. She seemed sincere. Her eyes were soft, her voice genuine. This wasn't the Karen who had ignored me for 2 decades. This was someone who actually appeared to care. "Why now?" I asked. "What changed, really?" "Your father dying made me think. Life is short. We've wasted so many years being cold to each other. I don't want to waste whatever time we have left. We used to be happy, David. Remember? Before everything got so hollow? I miss that. I miss us." It sounded reasonable. It sounded like something a person who had a wake-up call might say. People did change after deaths in the family. Maybe watching my father lose his father made her realize something. But the timing bothered me. "Karen, be honest. Did you know about my father's will?" Her expression didn't change. "What do you mean? Did you know he left me money?" "How would I know that? You just met with the attorney. You haven't told me anything." "Right." She reached for my hand, the first time she'd held my hand in maybe 5 years. Her skin was warm, soft. "David, this isn't about money. This is about us, about not wanting to look back in 20 years and regret not trying. I know I've been distant. I know I've been a terrible wife, but I want to change that. Will you let me try?" Maybe I wanted to believe her. Maybe after 20 years of loneliness, eating dinner alone, going to bed in an empty room, living with someone who acted like I barely existed, maybe I wanted to believe my wife actually cared. Maybe I was tired of the cold house and the empty conversations. So I said, "Okay, let's try." Over the next 3 weeks, Karen was attentive in ways I'd forgotten were possible. She made breakfast, actually woke up early to make real breakfast. Pancakes, eggs, bacon. Sat with me while I ate, drank coffee, talked about the day ahead. She asked to go for walks together. We'd walk through the neighborhood in the evening, her hand in mine, pointing out neighbors' gardens, talking about trivial things that felt surprisingly intimate after years of silence. She initiated conversations about books I was reading, about old memories from our early years. "Remember that trip to Maine? That little bed and breakfast with the terrible plumbing? We laughed so hard when the shower head fell off. And we'd laugh together, and it felt good. She laughed at my jokes she would have ignored or rolled her eyes at just a month ago. She was affectionate, Not physically intimate yet, but warm, present, interested. She'd sit close to me on the couch, her leg touching mine. She'd kiss my cheek when I left for errands. She'd text me during the day. Thinking about you. Can't wait for dinner tonight. It felt good. It felt like maybe, impossibly, we could salvage this marriage. Like maybe my father's death had been the wake-up call we both needed. But something nagged at me. The timing was too perfect. 20 years of cold indifference, then my father dies, and suddenly she wants to reconnect? I called Harrison. Can you tell me something? Is there any way Karen could have found out about my father's will? Wills are public record once they're filed for probate. If she knew to look, she could have accessed it online through the county records. When was it filed? March 18th, the day after your father's funeral. March 18th. Karen had started being nice to me on March 20th, 2 days after the will became public record. I felt sick. I hired a private investigator. His name was Marcus Chen, came highly recommended, discreet. I told him to find out what Karen knew and when she knew it. It took him 1 week. Marcus met me at a coffee shop, handed me a folder. Your wife accessed the Arizona County probate records on March 18th at 2:47 p.m. She searched your father's name, pulled up the will, and read the entire document. How do you know that? I have a contact at her office. She used her work computer. IT logs show the exact timestamp and which pages she viewed. So she'd known before picking me up from the airport, before asking about the attorney, before her sudden change in behavior. There's more, Marcus said. He showed me screenshots. She's been researching Arizona inheritance laws, community property statutes, ways to claim a spouse's inheritance. She's visited 3 different attorney websites that specialize in marital asset division. I stared at the evidence. My wife wasn't trying to save our marriage. She was trying to position herself to claim half of my inheritance. One more thing, Marcus said. He made an appointment with a divorce attorney. It's scheduled for 2 months from now. My guess is she's planning to stay married just long enough to establish that you've commingled the inheritance funds, then file for divorce and claim half. I drove home in silence, parked in the driveway, sat in my car for 20 minutes deciding what to do. When I walked in, Karen was in the kitchen making dinner. She smiled when she saw me. Hey, honey, I'm making your favorite, pot roast. Karen, we need to talk. Her smile faltered slightly. Okay, is everything all right? I know. Know what? I know you accessed my father's will on March 18th. I know you've been researching inheritance laws and divorce attorneys. I know exactly what you're doing. Her face went pale. For a moment she tried to deny it, then her expression hardened. So what? You inherited $3 million. I'm your wife. I'm entitled to half. We've been strangers for 20 years. You haven't cared for me in 2 decades. Now suddenly you're attentive and loving because you want money? Marriage is a partnership, David. What's yours is mine. Except my father specifically protected his money from you. It's separate property, and I haven't touched it, haven't commingled it. It's sitting in separate accounts that you'll never access. You're being selfish. I'm being realistic. You don't love me. You never did. You tolerated me, and now you see a payout. So that's it? You're going to hoard your millions while I get nothing? You'll get exactly what you contributed to this marriage, which is 20 years of cold indifference. Karen's mask finally dropped completely. Fine, we'll get divorced. I'll fight you for every penny. I'll make this as expensive and painful as possible. Go ahead. My father's will is ironclad. His attorney made sure of that. You'll spend tens of thousands on legal fees and get nothing except half of what we accumulated during marriage, which is this house and some retirement accounts. You'll walk away with maybe $200,000, not the $1.5 million you were planning. She stood there, furious, caught. Why? I asked. Why fake all of this? Why not just be honest and ask for a divorce? Because if I'd filed for divorce right away, it would look like I was leaving you after your father died. That looks bad. But if I stayed, acted like a loving wife, made it seem like we were trying to work things out, then filed later saying you'd changed or became difficult after inheriting money, I'd look sympathetic. I'd have a better case for claiming the inheritance was marital property. That's sociopathic. That's strategic. I filed for divorce the next day. Karen moved out within a week. The divorce took me 8 months, cost me $40,000 in legal fees, but Harrison was right. The inheritance stayed protected. Karen got half of our marital assets, about $230,000, and walked away. I'm 63 now, 1 year after my father's death. I live alone in a smaller house I bought with inheritance money, a house that's mine alone, that Karen never touched, that holds no memories of our cold marriage. I learned something valuable. Love and care can't be faked for long. When someone who's shown you indifference for years suddenly becomes attentive right after money enters the picture, trust your instincts. Don't let loneliness make you believe in a transformation that isn't real. My father knew. He'd seen how Karen treated me, how our marriage had deteriorated. He protected me even after he was gone. That's real love. That's what family does. I think about the 3 weeks when Karen was pretending. How good it felt to have someone care, even if it was fake. How much I wanted to believe it was real. That's the danger of loneliness. It makes you vulnerable to manipulation. Now I'm careful. I date occasionally, but I'm honest about having money, and I watch how people respond to that information. I've learned that genuine connection happens despite money, not because of it. The inheritance gave me financial security, but my father's real gift was the lesson. Protect yourself. Trust your instincts, and never let someone fake love to steal what you've earned. Sometimes the coldest betrayal isn't infidelity. It's calculated affection designed to extract money from someone who's been starved for kindness. Karen didn't cheat on me in the traditional sense. She exploited my loneliness for financial gain. That's its own kind of betrayal. I'm at peace now. Alone, but not lonely. Financially secure and emotionally free. And I'm grateful to my father for seeing clearly what I'd been too close to recognize, that sometimes protection comes in the form of legal documents and separate property clauses. Love should never have a price tag. When it does, it's not love at all.